his round on through the scope into the brain housing group.
Steve is using the M40A1 Marine sniper rifle. The round is Remington .308 caliber.
This round at 1,000 yards has more kinetic energy than a .357 at point blank. So this needs to be about 3 inches in front of his eye. Guy's got a little bit of rigor mortis.
Reichert is at 30 yards, but the difference in the speed of the round is negligible from Hathcock's 300-yard shot. The bullet will hit the scope at nearly 2,550 feet per second.
Going hot.
Reichert will experiment with various scopes to compare the flight path and terminal ballistics of each shot. Reichert's first target is a modern-day variable power scope.
That didn't come out the back end. There's some bullet fragments there. It appears to be the bullet actually stopped inside the scope. There's still some bullet fragments in there. So as that bullet hit the first lens, probably started to, jack started to tear off, the lead core started to rip up. Yeah, if you were the guy behind that scope right now, you'd probably have a lot of glass in your face and a black eye, but you'd live to fight another day.
One shot, one black eye. Reichert sets up another scope for a second attempt. The second shot fails to make it through the scope.
The scopes we're shooting now are modern variable power scopes. They have a lot more lenses, basically a lot more internal components. The scope Carlos shot into that day probably had 1 or 2 lenses, but not as many as these scopes. When that round hits the first piece of glass, it's gonna start to deform the bullet. It's a full metal jacket like we just shot. Encountered more resistance, impacted more objects, came back here, hit more lenses. By then it was traveling slow enough not to even break the glass in the back end. We'll try it again with a modern red dot scope. In size and internal setup, it's very similar to the PU scope Carlos Hathcock shot through, with the addition of maybe 1 extra lens right in the center. We might have better luck with this scope. That one looks like it worked. You hit the first lens, broke up, but not too much. The jacket started to come apart. Punched out the second lens and right above the eye. You can see that the lead core was pretty much intact and it went through the head. Punched through the head on the back end here, kept on going. This guy would be more than dead. If this would have been a real person, he would have had complete cranial evacuation. We call it a canoe, basically. His head would have popped open and he'd probably be looking straight down at his neck right now. Yeah, a little bit messy. The scope he encountered, the PU scope, it was similar to this. And Carlos being an outstanding marksman, I have no doubt after doing this that the shot Carlos pulled off was definitely doable.
One shot, one shattered scope, one dead cobra. Another chapter in the legendary life of Carlos Hathcock.
It isn't the art of taking someone's life. To me, it's how many Marines we can save. We will pick the time and place to do harm to you if you have permission to do harm to us.
The first time I pulled the trigger on a live person, I never thought about the consequences. I was basically just afraid not to screw up. I didn't want to miss. You know, this is a live situation. If I screw up, people die around you.
Lutafia, Iraq, April 9th, 2004. 14 Fox Company Marines patrol the roadway into Lutafia. Their mission? Look for roadside bombs and insurgents. A Marine and his spotter overwatched the patrol from atop an oil tank 1,000 yards away.
I had set up a little observation post atop one of the towers We could look down into the city, see what's going on, see if anyone's moving around, just look for suspicious activity. Totem with the decal up there with me. You just never know when you might need it.
The sniper, Steve Reichert, 1 mile kill shot. Reichert's weapon, the Barrett M82A3 Special Application Scoped Rifle, a 50 caliber beast.
The weapon was a 50 caliber semi-automatic Barrett M82A3. Holds 10 rounds of 50 caliber ammunition, has a variable power scope. Max effective range, they say, is 2,000 yards. With that weapon and that round, you can stop a car or a truck.
Reichert chooses the 50 cal over his standard M40A3.
If we had strong winds or anything else, I wanted something that would actually buck the wind a little bit better. And if the insurgents actually took up covered positions, whether inside a building or behind a car, I wanted something that could actually punch through the material and take them out.
All is quiet on the ground below until Reichert's spotter picks up an object on the road.
Corporal Tucker noticed an animal in the road that wasn't there the night before. I got on the scope and zoomed into it. We saw just a little bit of glint coming off what we thought was a wire. They had mentioned to us in the past the insurgents are starting to place IEDs into dead animals, tossing them on the side of the road.
Reichert radios the Marines on the ground.
Got a potential IED at 20 yards around the bend. Roger that. Setting up a perimeter.
They cordon off the area surrounding the IED.
Get it set!
So when we actually saw the glint coming off the wires, it felt good. Like, hey, we've done our job. Maybe we can actually get that IED taken care of, disarm it, nobody gets hurt.
We're set on the backside. Staff Sergeant Roberts, how you doing? All clear!
IED is secure.
We were just watching them set up that perimeter around the IED, and then 30 seconds later, everything erupted.
We got hit with an RPG first, and then the AK started coming in.
Being that far away, I could actually see things unfolding, where the insurgents appeared from and launched the RPGs. And then you just saw dirt and dust kicking up everywhere from machine gun fire the Marines were taking. Once I saw the firefight start to erupt, I made a quick range estimation, put the correct dope on the scope, and then just started scanning for targets of opportunity.
The insurgents are 1,350 yards away, a distance of more than 3/4 of a mile. Reichert adjusts his range, or dopes the scope, to 10 plus 2, 1,000 yards plus 2 minutes of angle. The Marines on the ground fight their way into the town and take cover in an abandoned schoolhouse. They are greatly outnumbered.
All the other insurgents in the city heard gunfire and were like, yes, party time. So they grabbed their little AKs and went to the gunfire. We noticed 1 or 2 guys pop up on top of the roof, and that's when we went to work. That first guy, I saw him pop off from the roof, swung the crosshairs over to him, flipped the weapon on kill, sent the round down range. Corporal Tucker immediately advised me, hey, you're way low, and then it clicked on my head. They've obviously changed positions. Made another quick dope change on the scope, sent the next round down range. That hit its mark. It was just a pink mist.
Even at 3/4 of a mile, the 50 cal is devastating.
The Sassers was mainly designed for armored personnel carriers, vehicles, hard targets. So when you hit a soft target, a person, they just rip apart.
When that rifle went off, I thought, oh man, what the hell is that behind me? I didn't know he was actively engaging targets at the time.
The Marines are pinned down, taking heavy fire.
We noticed 3 insurgents climbing up the back of a stairwell. Looked like one of them had an RPK, a belt-fed machine gun, slung over his back. They ducked down behind a wall. We immediately put the crosshairs on where I thought they were.
If the insurgents get their machine guns set up, the Marines on the ground are in trouble. The insurgents are more than 1,600 meters away, a distance of 1 mile. Complicating the shot further, Reichert must fire through a brick wall to hit them. He has the perfect ammo for the job, the Raufoss Mark 211 50 caliber round.
When the Raufoss round impacts a concrete wall, it punches a small 50 caliber hole on one side. Then the RDX explodes. You have the tungsten steel penetrator punching through. Zirconium sparks on the other side. You basically have a shotgun blast of shrapnel and a penetrating dart flying through.
Reichert's spotter gives him last-minute adjustments for the shot.
It's really crucial to ensure the communications flowing back and forth are accurate and you're actually making the changes to the scope.
Tactical breathing steadies Reichert's aim. He fires.
Round landed exactly where we wanted it to.
The Raufoss round blasts through the concrete wall at a speed in excess of 2,500 feet per second. The explosion obliterates the insurgents.
The wall on the opposite side of that stairwell just turned red. We didn't see the three of them get up.
Reichert stays on the 50 for the next 12 hours. His sharpshooting halts the insurgents' attack and saves Marines on the ground. For his heroic actions, he receives the Bronze Star for Valor. T1G Training Facilities, 2009. 5 years later, Steve Reichert is back behind the M82A3, the weapon he used to take out insurgents from a mile away.
It's a mini explosion going off about 4 feet in front of your face. A large overpressure, a lot of noise. It's not a pleasant gun to shoot all day long. 30 or 40 rounds and you want to quit. Still a great weapon system. In April of 2004, my weapon system, the M82A3, was loaded with magazines full of the Mark 211 Raufoss round, and the business end of these rounds are what the bad guys were experiencing.
Same weapon, same round, same sniper. Reichert will fire the 50 caliber Raufoss rounds into a 9-inch thick cinder block wall. The same type of wall insurgents hid behind when he made his 1-mile kill shot.
Once this round impacts the target, the RDX will detonate, kind of create a mini shape charge. So if there's any flammable liquids, gas, anything of that nature, it immediately detonates or catches fire.
Going hot.
The 671 grain round hits the wall at 2,850 feet per second. An incendiary mix in the nose of the bullet ignites explosives in its core, launching a tungsten steel penetrator through the concrete.
So what we have here is a solid-filled concrete wall. You can see where the initial blast and explosion took effect. You can actually see where the steel penetrator worked all the way through, good 9 inches of solid concrete, and popped out the other end.
To simulate the insurgents hiding behind the wall, Reichert adds a block of ballistic gelatin, the same consistency as human tissue.
Back in April, I saw 3 insurgents coming up the back stairs of a building. I picked where I thought they would be, sent a round crashing into the wall. The round detonated, and you had that shotgun blast coming into where these insurgents were. The gel will give you a good sense of if there were a person sitting here, what would happen to them after this round penetrates. Double hearing protection. The overpressure on this weapon system is quite significant, so